Back for this one. It's the SEC Tournament 2019 from Hoover, Alabama. Just a couple clouds in the sky and temps in the mid-90s and two red-hot teams. Number 2 seed Arkansas, 3 seed Georgia, and the Bulldogs great pitching, and they've been hitting it lately. Tomorrow we'll have a pair of elimination games. Only 2 games in the day. Will start at 4 o'clock Eastern on the SEC Network. Ole Miss will take on the one that drops this one. LSU, another miraculous Hoover-type win for the Tigers. They get the finale loser, either Vanderbilt or Mississippi State. So here we are. You heard Peter Burns talking about all these crazy games, tight except for one rule. It's almost like we don't have any sleep right now, but this entire tournament has just been playing wacky.
Yeah, well, 4 walk-offs in this tournament already. Arkansas made the National Championship Series last year. We got Georgia's going to be a top 8 national seed as well. This is a great matchup today.
And chalk held all the way through, which we haven't seen in a long time here. So you got 1 through 8 that made it all the way through today. And you got 4 top 8 national seeds that are going to be playing at some point during the course of the night. I mean, this is the best of the best in the country right now.
And part of the wackiness to this point has been because there's been a lot of different arms on the mound. Well, now we're getting the normal rest for the aces, and the aces in this league are as good as they get in the entire country. That's what we'll see the final 2 games.
Yeah, the aces in this league are the guys that are going to pitch for a long time. And before long, Isaiah Campbell's going to hear his name called in the draft here in about a week. 24th rounder last year. He's going to go a lot higher than that this year. 10-1 with a 250. And when you saw Campbell last year, this year he's a lot more efficient. This is a freshman that throws 100, and that's who Georgia's throwing out there today. 13 innings, 14 strikeouts for Cole Wilcox the last few weeks. They've eased him into the starting rotation, but he will figure prominently for Georgia the balance of this year.
Here's a look at the batting order for Arkansas, one of the most powerful offenses in all of college baseball. Trevor Ezell, the grad transfer to lead things off. And then there's Casey Martin, who's hitting a George Brett-like 390 over the last 24.
Yeah, he struggled early in this year, did Casey Martin, holding down the shortstop for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Led the team last year at 345. Struggled early up to 308 right now. Leads the team with 15 homers. He's the guy to watch for Arkansas.
Trevor Ezell at the plate, and he looks at first pitch 94. Keep an eye on the radar gun numbers, bottom right of the score bug. That's what we call it. 94-mile-an-hour fastball to match the mercury. 94 degrees. It's the hottest start in tournament history.
Fastball slider right there from Wilcox. That's primarily what you're going to see. Fastball will get into the mid to upper 90s, and the slider is a wipeout pitch.
So when you think about his pitch usage for a guy who throws in the mid to upper 90s, you may ask the question, why not throw your fastball more than half the time?
Because your slider's that good, and that's the difference. It's pretty much just those 2. The changeup you won't see much, maybe every once in a while to a left-hander, second, third time around the order. That one usually works out pretty well, though, Walk.
Well, when you've got the doubt that he might throw something off speed, and then he pumps 96 at you, that's tough to catch up to. And Trevor Ezell, the 5th-year senior from Southeast Missouri State, just swings right through that fastball. That's why velocity is important, man. You have an idea it's coming, still can't catch up to it.
Walk number's high for the freshman, but he's been a lot better here in the last few weeks. He's starting to feel comfortable at this level.
Nobody's comfortable facing this Georgia pitching staff. 4th in the country in ERA. Leading the country in only 6 hits per 9 innings allowed and a 1.12 whip is second best. Casey Martin with a flare, charging at second, LJ Talley, and quickly 2 down. Emerson Hancock is another starter for Georgia. Not sure when we'll see him this weekend, but this is quite the 1-2 punch, and it might be history because it might be the first 2 guys from the same school to go number 1 overall in the draft in consecutive years.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, Emerson Hancock is the odds-on favorite to go 1-1 next year, be the first pick in the draft. And what we've seen from Wilcox's freshman year, this is the kind of stuff that you see from a number 1 overall pick 2 years down the road. He's just a freshman. He's got 2 years left.
Out of Chickamauga, Georgia, extreme northwest part of the state, just outside of Chattanooga. Matt Goodhart at the plate. And 97 misses low to Goodhart, who's 6th in the SEC in on-base percentage. He's from Magnolia, Arkansas, and southern Arkansas. Got a piece of it on 95 and a fly ball to left where Riley King handles it. Easy cheese from Cole Wilcox in the first inning. Georgia looks like one of the best teams in the country. Let's see if the bats match the arms.
replacing their ace from last year, Isaiah Campbell, filling in the shoes of Blaine Knight quite nicely. In fact, when you look at the statistics, he's better in almost every category, including ERA, strikeouts, wins, innings pitched. I talked to Dave Van Horn about why he's so much better this year, and he said it's his ability to get out of jams. Last year, if we had two guys on, we'd end up with about 3 runs at the end of the inning. This year, it's his mentality. He's able to make pitches, and when he gets frustrated, he's able to calm himself down better.
Blaine Knight into the season with 14 wins. If Isaiah Campbell can put together that kind of postseason run, Arkansas will be right back in Omaha. 10-1 on the season, an ERA of 2.5 for the junior from the suburbs of Kansas City. In 90 innings, he has struck out 97. He has only walked 15. And he's got a little bit more variety in his pitch arsenal.
Yeah, Blaine Knight last year was primarily fastball slider. This year for Isaiah Campbell, a little bit different, and he's changed up his changeup this year. It's more of a split. So fastball, slider, curveball, changeup. Every once in a while, that fastball and the slider kind of go together and look like a cutter. People haven't hit his slider very much this year, but still above 50% with the fastballs. At 15 walks on the season is the one that jumps out for Campbell. He has got a lot more efficient from what he was last year. The stuff's always been there.
Facing a Georgia batting order that had a great series against Alabama late in the year. They hit .402 with 6 home runs and 30 ribbies. It's been the one shortcoming for this Georgia team, which is aiming to be a top 8 national seed for the 2nd year in a row. Cam Shepard with some dramatics day 1 with a walk-off home run against Texas A&M. Ball and a strike now. .30 runs in the 3-game Alabama series for Georgia. Then a 2-0 win against Texas A&M, but Georgia didn't have a hit through the first 7. Maxwell, 10 home runs. He's driven in 31. Great speed at the top of the order.
This is what Arkansas needed, right? I mean, Isaiah Campbell pitched on the weekends last year for Arkansas, but they lost to dude Blaine Knight. Didn't lose the game all the way through Omaha last year, 14-0. And for Isaiah Campbell to step into that role in the ace role for Arkansas, because pitching on Friday nights is a different deal. That's been huge for them. I don't know if anybody expected them to be where they are right now after last year. They lost a lot of guys after making the final series of the College World Series, but Isaiah Campbell stepped into this role and has really put Arkansas where they are now as a top national seed.
Payoff to Maxwell.
Well, they lost tonight. They lost Casey Murphy. So, I mean, they lost their 1-2 over the course of the weekend. And as we see, you see Cole Wilcox on the other side. You throw it Friday night in this league, you better have this type of stuff, because about everybody else has a true ace, and Isaiah Campbell's turned into that guy.
Maxwell not happy with the strikeout to start the game for Georgia.
And this is the one thing about Georgia. Look, I mean, they can flat out defend. They've got some real dudes on the front end and back end of that pitching rotation. Does the offense travel? They've struggled to score runs on the road. At home, they're fine. And the good news for Georgia fans is they're going to host a regional, and they're going to host a super regional, most likely, as a top 8 national seed. But I just wonder how this offense performs on the road.
Hoping they don't worry about that until TD Ameritrade. The pitching will play TD Ameritrade, no doubt about that. Here's Riley King. He was 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts in the series, I should say, the tournament opener for Georgia. Redshirt sophomore from Lawrenceville out of Collins Hill High School. Chase the slider. Back-to-back strikeouts for Campbell.
Back-to-back sliders to get him swinging and missing right there. Here's the Dogs. They're going to pitch and they're going to defend with anybody in the entire country. Last season, a top 8 national seed. Duke beat them in a regional at home. But hot this year to start. Best start since 2008. Won their first 4 series within the league and swept the Gators at home for the first time since 2006. 7-inning doubleheader the last day, and they give up 2 total runs in the 14 innings. Top 6 in the country in ERA, whip, and opponent's batting average. And their field .983 as a club.
And this guy at the plate now is an interesting two-way player for Georgia. Aaron Schunk, who's battled some injuries in the back half of the season. will start at third base for him. One of their best hitters, leading the team with 11 home runs, and he will also be on the mound at the end of games.
Yeah, you're looking at a 5-tool guy here. I mean, the speed might not be there at the tops of anybody in the conference, but he's got everything else. He's got the power. He can hit for average. He can flat out defend. He's got a great arm.
Out of Lovett School in Atlanta, and he sends a line drive to center. Dominic Fletcher catches up to just about everything out there. Settle in. Might have a great pitcher's duel in this one. Campbell puts him down in order in the first, just like Wilcox did. Getting to know Arkansas. Razorbacks lost in the College World Series to Oregon State in the most painful way possible. They came in as preseason number 12 in the country. They've exceeded those expectations. Won 7 of their 10 conference series. Top 3 in the SEC in average runs and home runs. Top 10 in the country in home runs with 77 of them. And here's a guy, Dominic Fletcher, out of Cypress, California, who's got a big brother playing in the big leagues, and Dominic might just join him soon. He does a lot of things that make him look like a big leaguer.
Yeah, absolutely. Big run last year in Omaha for Dominic Fletcher. Big game against Texas Tech last year. A lot of experience. Can go get it in center field.
He's produced for 3 straight years in his league too, and if you do that, and there's, you can nitpick the swing a little bit. I think there's some things they can clean up when they get it into pro ball, but there's real juice there, and he will stick in center field. He can really defend. Double-digit home runs all 3 years in this league. There aren't too many guys that can say that.
Pounds it into the dirt. Cam Shepard to his left. 1 down. 13 pitches for 4 outs for Cole Wilcox. That'll play.
Cam Shepard, who we highlighted in the opener, all SEC defensive team. He was in the leadoff spot for the first 33 games. Struggled a little bit. The numbers aren't going to pop out at you for Cam Shepard, but this guy can really swing the bat. Hot lately. A lot of bad luck this year, just hitting balls on the screws and getting nothing to show for it. But this guy's a real player. Started every game, been at Georgia.
Into right, a stumble, and it will drop. Heston Kjerstad with a 1-out single.
Yeah, Rogers in right field got a bad read on it. Not only that, he stumbles a little bit, slips, and then not able to make the play. The ball got jammed in on Kjerstad a little bit, which can fool an outfielder. And Kjerstad on, 1 out.
Cheney Rogers in right field for Georgia. Just saw the numbers. 11th in the country in fielding percentage. Second fewest errors committed by any SEC defense. First pitch strike to Jack Kenley. In Germantown, Tennessee, right outside of Memphis, 21-year-old finance major. Playing a solid second base for Arkansas this year. He's also good enough defensively to start for a lot of teams at short.
I think this is one of the most unheralded guys in this lineup, and there's a few of them for Arkansas. I mean, Kjerstad, Fletcher, Martin, we talk about all the flash those guys have. Kenley's double-digit home runs at second base, and he's fielding above 970. And this is an Arkansas team that defensively can have their challenges sometimes, not with Kenley.
Yeah, big day yesterday for Kenley as well.
His first 2 years combined, he didn't have a home run. Got 12 this year.
Runner goes, pitch is grounded foul. Not only did he not hit a home run, he was only hitting 190. Drove in 3 in Arkansas's win against Ole Miss yesterday. They're up 2-zip early and tied at 2 after 5. And scored 3 unanswered.
You know, when you start talking about the importance of hosting, I mean, there's no better example than Arkansas. 12-9 on the road. They play really well at home. 28-6 at home. And you talk about a team that made it all the way to the end last year. I mean, their numbers are similar to last year. And like we just talked about, they replaced their ace. So there's no reason to believe they couldn't make a run again this year.
A 40-win season for Arkansas again, 41-15.
They got their closer back, Matt Cronin. And this guy can really coach.
Yeah, he can. I mean, it's 6 of the 9 in the offensive lineup are different from what it was for Arkansas last year at Omaha.
To the right side, Talley goes to second for 1. Shepard back to first, just a hair late. Fielder's choice for Jack Kenley. Bang, bang play at first.
That's a tough play for a second baseman to make. L.J. Talley moves to his left side and moving away from the bag makes an accurate throw to get the force at second. They almost turned it.
Casey Opich to the plate. Sophomore from Centennial, Colorado. Played behind Grant Cook last year on that World Series team. Showed Dave Van Horn a moment ago. He owns a national title, won a Division II national championship at Central Missouri State in Warrensburg, Missouri. Thoughts and prayers to everybody in mid-Missouri devastated by tornadoes in the middle of the night last night, where all we were doing was calling a baseball game. Not far from the University of Missouri campus. Ball and a strike now. Kenley at first base. 8 of 10 on the base paths this year. There he goes. Pitch is out. The throw to second is on time and on the money.
That's a bullet.
Shane Marshall hasn't started a ton of games behind the plate. Typically it's Mason Meadows, but the second stringer looking like an ace behind the dish.
Only throwing 19% of the runners out, but nice transfer from behind the plate and a missile down to second base right on the money.
Never seen an SEC tournament like this. 43rd year of it, and from a competition standpoint, 4 walk-offs in this thing. That's never happened before. Chalk held deeper than it ever has before.
It hadn't rained. Does that not count, Tom?
No, that counts. I was with you late last night, early this morning, and I feel like if I would have mentioned that, you would have been all over me.
That was a long time ago.
Not long enough.
I've matured.
L.J. Talley retired by his counterpart Jack Kenley, 1 down. What'd you guys do when you got back to the hotel? 3:30 in the morning?
I don't remember.
I did Pilates.
I don't remember much.
There was a late night Pilates class right up the street. Knocked that out on the way home and made myself a smoothie. Good night.
Made yourself did you bring a blender?
Yeah, 2.
Packed it in
just in case.
I gotcha.
I have a blender too. John Cable at the plate, breaking ball in for a strike from Isaiah Campbell, senior from Roswell. Leads the team in ribbies. It's the longest game in the history of the SEC tournament with the latest finishing time ever. Off the glove of Kenley, and Cable will reach. Rule that an infield single and take it back to Cam Shepard's heroics. After Texas A&M's pitching was fantastic, Shepard spoiled it into the shutout in what was previously through 7+ innings a no-hitter with a walk-off home run.
Yeah, 6 home runs with 15 RBIs in his last 12 games. Again, we talked about Cam Shepard and his struggles early, but Scott Strickland has a lot of faith in this kid. He started every game since he stepped foot on Georgia's campus, holding down the shortstop position. He can really swing it. Only hitting 237, but he can go. Little pull off there on the off speed.
By the way, tip of the cap to Rob Childress and his A&M team. Aggies pitchers threw 15 1/3 innings of hitless baseball in their 2 games, and they didn't win either one.
Well, that's what we know about A&M. They don't play particularly well on defense. They don't hit particularly well, but they can flat out throw it.
A&M, one of those teams that'll be waiting on Monday to see if they're going to play at home or go on the road as a 2 seed. They're I think it should be one of those last few that host, but arguments definitely come in. 1-1, lost 2 here in Hoover, but they will pitch with anybody in the nation.
Yeah, I kind of got the feel that LSU might be battling A&M on one of those 2 would host at home, but you almost think that both of them will, right?
They very well could.
And LSU won today, so that's 2 wins here. Draws 10,000 a game when those teams play at home. It's hard to pass that up if you're the committee.
Off the handle and fouled back. What's going on this week in Hoover? Well, a lot of wild baseball, including LSU's walk-off winner. Second game of the day today that came on a lost ball at the plate. Shepard was a 29th round pick of the Red Sox coming out of Peachtree Ridge High School. Pitch misses inside to him. 3-2 now. It was the first recruit that head coach Scott Strickland watched when he got the job, 2013. Integral part of the rebuilding of this Georgia franchise. And he tattoos one down the line, but foul. Took Kent State to 5 NCAA regionals in the 2012 College World Series before he got to Georgia, where it took a while to build a program. And that's how college baseball works.
Especially in this league. The last 2 years, top 8 national seed last year, and Georgia will be one again this year.
1990 national champions. 6 times they've been to College World Series. The last was 2008 when they made it to the finals.
Stuck with his guys, too. You know, after year 4, they were wondering about Scott Strickland at Georgia. Tucker Maxwell, Cam Shepard, Aaron Shunk, all freshmen. They didn't do particularly well, but like you mentioned, last year, Scott Strickland turned them into a national seed, and again this year, they're on a great run. Lost the regional last year to Duke, but I think they're better suited this year. No disrespect to Chase Adkins last year, the Friday guy for them, but now this year they've got a real ace on the mound.
Yeah, they got a bunch of them. Hancock, Wilcox, who we're seeing today, Tony Losi, all will match up on a weekend.
Here's Patrick Sullivan. First pitch strike. Junior from Sandy Springs out of Marist. He's a real estate major. A lot of real estate in this ballpark. 335 down the lines, 405 to center.
Covers a lot of real estate too. Cam Shepard, 2 errors at shortstop all year. He started every game. LJ Talley, 3 errors at second baseman. He started every game.
And you're looking at the best defensive first baseman in the league right here.
Made one error.
Yeah,
one error the entire year. He's filled .997.
Ridiculous.
Cable the runner at second. Shepard aboard at first. Lob wedge to the right side. Jack Kenley into the sun. It's a Georgia team, top 5 in the country in ERA, top 10 in fielding percentage, and top 25 in home runs. Style of play is, Todd Walker said, plays well at home, where they are 28-6. And that style of play over the years, KP, has played very, very well in Omaha.
If you can pitch and defend at TD Ameritrade, and it's since the new baseballs a few years ago, it's starting to play a little bit more true than it has. But still, if you can't pitch and you can't defend, you don't win there.
Who was the most one-dimensional team that's won the College World Series since it moved to the house on the hill? Would it be UCLA, or was it just because they were so dominant pitching that it kind of throws everything out of whack?
I mean, that's how UCLA won it, is they were just better than everybody else on the mound. I think they hit like 210 in Omaha and won the national title.
Florida pretty similar, although they could defend as well. 2017 when they win it all. That team wasn't very offensive. Although they had some key hits in that run that year. But
I think last year's Florida team was better than the Florida team that won a national championship.
They didn't lose a weekend series until the final weekend of the year. And that's what got Mississippi State into the postseason, and the Bulldogs into their year in Omaha. 2 balls and a strike now to Shane Marshall. 8-hole hitter for the Georgia Bulldogs. Off the thumbs, charging hard, Jacob Nesbitt. Gloves, double pump. That cost him. Everybody's safe, and Georgia's loaded the bases with 2 down in the second.
Well, I understand what Nesbitt did here. Look, I mean, you got to make absolutely sure, first of all, you catch the baseball. And then the second thing, and probably the most important, is that you don't throw it away. Nesbitt right here has to make absolutely sure that he has command of that baseball, and it cost him. But again, that's a lot better than throwing it up the first baseline. He charged it well. And Marshall was really booking it down the line.
Campbell's got a chance to get out of it. This is the 9-hole hitter, Cheney Rogers, only hitting .264 on the season. The way Cole Wilcox is throwing, this might determine the game.
This is the spot that makes the difference. Heard Van Horn talking about Isaiah Campbell and working out of jams right here on a 2-0 count. Or 1-1. What kind of pitches is he going to make to get out of this?
4th ranked Arkansas, 6th ranked Georgia. We've got 4 top 10 teams in action the rest of the way tonight. To short. And to wait on the second baseman, so a long throw to get the 3rd out of the inning. No runs, couple of hits, bases left loaded by the Dogs. Still to come later tonight, Vanderbilt, #1 seed regular season champs, taking on Mississippi State. Should be a fun one. Great pitching. And then return to sanity tomorrow with only 2 games here at the ballpark before we get to the semis on Saturday. This conference in college baseball, here's why. 4 teams in the top 6, Vandy, Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Georgia all in action today. A&M and LSU aiming to be top 16 seeds in the tournament and therefore have a chance to host, as Todd was talking about a moment ago. Any one thing, KP, you can point to that makes the SEC stand out relative to the other power conferences this year?
When it comes to selection or just in general?
Overall excellence, I'd say.
I think it's just overall talent level. I mean, you go watch a weekend series and you look at the arms in this league, and there's great arms across the country, but there is not the depth that you will see in this league on the weekend.
It's inside.
Well, some of the things they factor in like RPI and ranking and your record in the conference. Another thing, the strength of schedule. If you look at that, 8 of the 10 as of today are from the SEC. North Carolina and Texas Tech mixed in there, but that is a difficult schedule week in and week out here in this conference.
Cole Wilcox 3-1 on the year. 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Full count now. Well, 83% of his fastballs clocked at 95 or faster. That one's 96. And Opitz goes down looking. Second strikeout for Wilcox. So here's what D1 Baseball has projected for postseason seedings. 5 number 1 seeds, and LSU has an opportunity to climb if they continue to win. Florida and Missouri both as 3 seeds. That would give the conference an all-time record 11 teams in the postseason.
It could, just for the 3rd time in the tournament, have 3 top 8 national seeds from the same league. 2016, 2018, the only 2 other times it happened, it was both out of the SEC.
Line drive, well hit left field. That is over the head of King and takes a funny carom off the fence. Nesbitt happy with a stand-up double with 1 out. So if you weren't aware, the key to the top 8 national seeds is that they get home field advantage through the first 2 weekends before heading to Omaha.
That 2, 3, 4, 5 right now, all coming out of this league. 2, 3, 4, 5 all won their first game here at Omaha. Louisville went 0-2 in the ACC tournament. I don't think that'll matter because they were so good during the regular season. Texas Tech won the Big 12. Georgia Tech has maybe been the biggest surprise team out of all of those this year.
They had the 2nd overall pick in catcher Joey Bart last year, but Danny Hall's done a magnificent job on the flats, and they'll likely be home at Russ Chandler Stadium for a couple of weekends. You mentioned Texas Tech. They won the Big 12 regular season. That tournament ongoing in Oklahoma City right now. Ball and a strike. Last I saw, I believe Tech beat Kansas State yesterday.
They did. KU knocked K-State out today. TCU was hammering OU.
TCU scored 14 runs in the 4th inning against Oklahoma. They only scored 14 in a conference game once all year. In the dirt, gets away from Marshall. Nesbitt advances on the wild pitch. 12th wild pitch of the season from flame-throwing Cole Wilcox.
This is the kid at the plate right here that Dave Van Horn really loves, the freshman Christian Franklin. Game-tying home run in Week 7 against Tennessee. Still in on the 9-hole just to keep him comfortable. Only hitting .274. Will play center field when Dominic Fletcher leaves, but this guy, the best player out of the state of Missouri last year as a senior in high school, can really go.
Infield in for Georgia. And Franklin draws a walk. Selection Monday right around the corner. As of now, UC Irvine's got a win last night, is among the last 5 in. Michigan got a key win in the Big Ten tournament in Omaha to hold on to their last spot in.
Oklahoma not helping themselves right now. Virginia is losing today. Arizona with a big weekend series. The last 4 or 5 weeks, Arizona's been on fire. May have played themselves back in, definitely back into consideration. If they sweep this weekend, they could be back in.
Talk about the difference between the SEC and a lot of the other major conferences. And for example, the ACC with Louisville and Georgia Tech. That one gets to the backstop. Late break for Nesbitt. The throw is late and skips up the line. And lucky that the throw from Marshall missed where it did, because Franklin wasn't able to advance any farther.
We talk about velocity, how it affects hitters. The same thing with catchers, because there's just not enough time to react. Watch. Marshall sitting outside. Fastball gets tugged to the inside part of the plate. He's got to reach all the way across. That was 95 and just couldn't get a glove on it. Good enough break by Nesbitt over at third base. Throws on line. He may be out, but it's not. And Arkansas is on the board. A day where 1 or 2 runs kind of feels like a lot, too.
Back to Trevor Ezell with a count 1-1. Grad transfer from Southeast Missouri State. He's an Arkansas native out of Bryant. You were talking about Arizona a moment ago. Ezell tops this one to the right side, handled by Wilcox, and Franklin moves to third. Be interesting to see how Arizona's recent run compares to who they've played late in the year in the Pac-12, because the Pac-12 is fantastic at the top end, elite even, with UCLA and Oregon State and Stanford, of course, probably ahead of Oregon State. But it seems like, unlike the SEC, the bottom half of the league, or the bottom 2/3, gives you winnable games every weekend.
I would agree with that. You look at Arizona during the course of the regular season, and I mean, they'll finish with one that they definitely ought to sweep. They swept at Penn State. They go to Washington State this weekend.
Washington State has already fired their coach, have they not?
I believe so.
I know none of us got any sleep last night, but that was dancing through my dreams at one point. So yeah, that should be a sweep.
The most impressive thing to me out of the Pac-12 is UCLA ran through that whole league, didn't lose to anybody.
And they're, I mean, out of conference too. And they won 2 out of 3 at Georgia Tech. They swept East Carolina at home. East Carolina's going to host. UCLA is the #1 seed in the country.
Couple of wild pitches. The only mistakes that Cole Wilcox made in that 3rd inning. And that's what has Arkansas down. We'll hear from Dave Van Horn after this.
I'm joined with Arkansas coach Dave Van Horn. Coach, you get one on the board there. How do you continue to stress Cole Wilcox?
Well, we need to get the leadoff man on. I think it's going to be huge for us. He's thrown awfully hard. He's thrown a lot of strikes, and it seems like with the runners on, he's going to his off speed a little bit. We've just got to do a better job of, making solid contact.
You mentioned the difference with Isaiah Campbell as he goes back out there and how he's able to get out of jams. He got out of the bases loaded jam the previous inning. What do you see when you look at him on the mound as the difference in his presence over there?
Just a lot better mound presence. He doesn't seem, a little worked up or nervous. He seems like he feels like he's in control, and he just needs to make a pitch. Last year it was different. This year, a lot better.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Chris. Bottom of the 3rd, top of the order, Tucker Maxwell for Georgia to clean up what we were talking about a moment ago. Washington State did let go of head coach Marty Lees, who's a former Oregon State assistant. 3-24 in Pac-12 play going into their final series with Arizona. I just don't see, if we dive deep into bracketology, how if you're Arizona and that's who your opponent is the final weekend of the season, that you can make up enough ground even with a sweep to overcome those bubble teams in front of you.
You can get above 500 in the league, and I think that's the one thing they may point to. But 15 and 14 in the league, I think you got to dive deeper and see who you beat and who you beat out of conference. The reality is, if you're on the bubble, you're there for a reason. I mean, it's usually not a lock solid argument that somebody's going to get in.
So Washington State will have an interim head coach the final series of the regular season. There is no Pac-12 tournament, if you weren't aware. Tucker Maxwell struck out first time up. And he draws a leadoff walk from Isaiah Campbell. It's his second walk from Campbell. So from a big picture standpoint, who would you take in this scenario?
Me? I would take Florida first. I'd probably take Florida State second. Arizona and Irvine, I think you can flip a coin. I think with those two, Irvine was great in the league. Big West wasn't a great league, but they were very good in the league. Went on the road, lost 2 out of 3 to Iowa late in the season. Arizona's non-conference is not a great selling point. And the teams that they've beat in the Pac-12 are not teams that are going to the postseason. That stings.
2 on with nobody out after King got hit by a pitch for the 15th time this season. That'll put him into a tie for the league lead.
And if Florida does get in, I mean, they're playing well right now. Tommy Mace has had a good end of the season. Jack Leftwich as well. And, that was the big question mark for Florida is can they pitch? And these guys got some experience. They can swing the bat this year.
They can do that, yeah. And they showed signs towards the end of the season of that pitching staff coming around.
Right.
We've talked about it earlier. I do think Florida's going to get in. And Florida's going to be a 3 somewhere if they do get in, and that's not the 3 that you want.
No.
It's very hard to compare what the committee does year to year. Last year, they granted an at-large bid to Northeastern, coached by Mike Glavin, Tom Glavin's brother, the Hall of Famer. Northeastern had a great conference season. They went 17-6. They won 36 games overall. They won the CAA regular season, but didn't win their tournament. There's a lot of folks who cover the game on a regular basis. Talking with Teddy Cahill at Baseball America this week. He said, if the committee, in explaining why they took Northeastern over Kentucky, would have stressed what Northeastern did to earn the bid versus what they thought Kentucky's shortcomings were, would have put themselves in a better position. Line to left. And Shunk on the first pitch is retired, 1 down. But Kentucky went 13-17 in the conference last year, and so that was pointed at as a reason why the committee did not take Kentucky.
And I have an issue with that. I think that you should be judged on 56 or 60 or however many you played and not have conference be any more important than anything else at the end of the year. If you win certain conferences just because of the strength within it, obviously it's going to build you up from a hosting standpoint, a top 8 standpoint, but you go 13-17 in this league and you try to compare it to some other leagues across the country, you can't do it. The depth is way different.
First pitch fastball to LJ Talley, 11th in the conference in hitting. Average now at .338 after a ground out to second. Nice scoop by Casey Opitz behind the plate. He's thrown out more base runners than anyone in the SEC. Two on in a 1-run game. Kenley goes to second after hesitating and able to retire Riley King. Todd Walker, what do you think about that play?
Now that's impressive. As a second baseman, you go to your left that far, you almost give up on trying to get the second base because, again, you throw that away, we got problems. But nice job right there by Kenley to set his feet and make an accurate throw. A lot of times you'll see that ball in left field. Or the second baseman just decides to get the out. Either way, Jack Kenley with a nice range play there.
He's an interesting draft guy for me. Because, he didn't hit at all last year, but didn't play consistently. Now he's playing every day, and the OPS is over 1,000. He can really defend. I think you put him at shortstop, and professional baseball to see if he can stick there. But you had 12 home runs this year in this league when you haven't hit any the first 2 years. That's a pretty good sign moving forward.
And you say put him at shortstop because if he doesn't hit, he's still got some value.
Well, and he can play short. I mean, if you talk Dave Van Horn, if you just take a shortstop, he may fit better there right now than Casey Martin. Martin's going to get to more balls because he's insanely athletic. But if you hit it to Kendall, he's going to pick it up and throw it to first about every time.
That one underneath the catcher, and no throw to second will allow Talley to move up. That's almost exactly how LSU won the game prior to this against Auburn. They got 2 home on a wild pitch. Got a broken belt situation. It's like Thanksgiving dinner all over again. Two balls and a strike. They just don't make belts like they used to. I don't know why Tucker Maxwell even needs a belt. He's wearing shorts out there. 2-2.
Walk, what do you got on that? What do you got on the tight roll above the knees?
Yeah, that's the football play right above the knees. We can actually move around. That never happened when I played.
What would Skip Burtman have said about that look right there? Now we're just going to peel the ball.
If you hit 400, he wouldn't have said anything. If you hit 200, he'd make you change it.
Poked to short. Casey Martin comes around, throws. Nice play. And Isaiah Campbell escapes trouble again. 5 stranded over the previous 2 innings for the Georgia Bulldogs. Arkansas up 1-0. How do you rebuild a program? They'll tell you it takes time.
The growth of our class has been tremendous.
We started out not doing very good freshman year, and
we knew we were good, and we thought we were a lot better than we were. The struggle, kind of an eye-opener, and the guys kind of just stuck together.
Ever since our freshman year, we're going to get to this point. I've watched my class grow for 3 years now, and it's just been unreal.
This year I think we've really just turned the corner. We have a lot of confidence and experience.
We all know each other really well, and just kind of growing up together really tight, and we've been really good on the field.
See if that makes a difference for Scott Strickland's Georgia Bulldogs. Best regular season record since they won the national championship in 1990.
When you hear the comments stuck with them, I mean, Scott Strickland stuck with all those guys. They're juniors now and played them a lot as a freshman. They got a lot of experience in this league, and that's why they are where they are now.
Well, the reality is the athletic department stuck with him.
Correct.
And I mean, college baseball, it's not college football, it's not college basketball, but at the big time programs right now, it's not far off as far as how the importance of winning. You know, there's a lot of places you don't get 5 years. And obviously it was the right decision because there's not a lot of places that you go national seeds back-to-back years, which is what Scott Strickland's going to do here at Georgia.
Matt Goodhart grounds out to first base. The key is not only recruiting great players, but getting him to sign, and that was a key with Cole Wilcox, Chris.
Yeah, he was projected to be a first-round pick, but none of the teams could meet the money, so he announced he was going to sign with Georgia. The day he announced it on Twitter was when Georgia had to play a doubleheader in the regionals. They lost both those games to Duke, so he announced it on Twitter saying that they have more business to take care of in Athens, and that's how Strickland found out via social media. He was telling me that the day before when they were watching the first round on TV, a kid by the name of Cole Winn got drafted in the first round, went to the Rangers. He goes, I heard the name Cole announced, and my heart skipped a beat, and then thankfully they said Winn after that, and I felt a little better. He said that Wilcox has been just as good as they thought that he would be when he came in.
So you get Cole Wilcox to campus, and Emerson Hancock. Wow, this one's hit high and deep to right field. Rogers will have room. Ball just not carrying. And Dominic Fletcher with a long out to right. And Emerson Hancock was absolutely the key for this Georgia team to develop over the summer. A lot of work with the strength coach, get stronger, get more confidence, and he's turned into not just a future first rounder, but maybe #1 overall pick.
And you could see the pieces for Hancock last year. I mean, he can't teach velocity. Some guys, it will grow over time. But Hancock, if he were draft eligible this year, not because he's a sophomore, would almost assuredly be the top college pitcher taken in the draft. Wilcox probably a little bit further along than Hancock was last year, too. So there's a decent 1-2 punch next year.
Just hasn't started a lot this year. They're using Wilcox out of the pen. This is what, his 5th start?
Yep. 18th appearance overall. 1-2 now.
I mean, I don't know what has more value. You know, you got a guy in a pen throws 100 and come in the game, or do you start a guy like that? I know as a hitter, it doesn't matter how hard you throw. If I face you the 2nd, 3rd time, I can time you up. But you bring a guy like this out of the pen for an inning or two, it'll blow you away.
Hold on. How many years you play in the big leagues?
10.
Yeah.
Did you just drop a hold on me?
Well, yeah, I did. I held up the yield sign, but you didn't see it.
I didn't. I drove right through it.
You're a little bit different than most guys. You know, you're talking about you as a guy who's a first-round pick and played 10 years in the big leagues. As great as the SEC at this level, they're going to have a hard time with 96 whether they see it 1 time or 12 times.
I'm asking KP, what's more valuable? You know, have a guy that throws this hard for Georgia in particular.
I want him starting.
You want him starting.
Into right center. Rogers, no issue there.
I want him starting just because now he's grown into a guy that can start in a regional, and Georgia's so deep on the weekend from a rotation standpoint, gives him a chance to go to Omaha.
State fans ready to go. They found some shade, which is invaluable right now. 95 at first pitch. Bulldogs with a thriller last night. It ended at, check my book, I wrote it down.
3:03.
3:03 a.m. Past last call at many places. And what was one of the most amazing things about that game that ended at 3:03 a.m. and pointed this out to how great the crowd was. You know, about 2,000 still here at 2 a.m. There was post-game traffic leaving the ballpark at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I was thinking the same thing. I know. By the time Walker got out here, it was okay.
Now it's clear. No
Got
traffic.
to hang out for another half hour.
No traffic at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
What a grab.
Nesbitt. Go get it.
So look, we talked about Cam Shepard in his year, not as average where it should be. Look at this missile he hits to third base, and that pretty much sums up Cam Shepard's year. If you talk to him offensively, I mean, he can really square the ball up, and this has just been happening to him a lot. And as a hitter, it's tough to stay positive, man. You come into each game thinking it's a new day, and something like that happens, puts you right back in the tank mentally.
Here's Patrick Sullivan. Martin across the other side, 2 down. LSU Mississippi State last night was a 17-inning game at 6 hours and 43 minutes, the longest in SEC tournament history in 43 years. 11 pitchers used, 552 total pitches thrown. Did we ever get the total number of baseballs used?
Kyle said he had the answer. He never got
early. I had it early.
At that point, the over-under was, what, 100?
101 and a half.
101 and a half. What was the number at that point, though?
It was 97.
Okay.
Or something.
I feel like you just made that up. Isaiah Campbell spins in a strike.
He said we were wrong. We called it over. I do remember that. Don't remember much. I remember that.
Shane Marshall reached on an infield single last time up, and Campbell skips one home.
What was your favorite part about SEC Now last night? If you had to go back, I mean, like, just relive the whole thing. What was the one thing that sticks out for you?
You gotta think I'm lying. I mean, I literally have smoke coming out of my ears. I'm drawing blanks. Just a bomb exploded in my brain. At one point, Dari asked me what I was looking forward to today. I thought South Carolina was still in the tournament. I mean, jeez. The things we do.
Campbell with a strikeout. It's a 1-2-3 frame in the fourth. Another close one. We'll hear from head coach Scott Strickland with his team down by 1.
Welcome back. I am joined with Georgia head coach Scott Strickland. And coach, you've been able to get some guys on base. How do you bring them in now?
Well, we got to get some hits to fall. Aaron Shunks hit 2 balls right on the nose. Cam Shepard that last inning hit 1 right on the nose. We're swinging the bat pretty good, and we're getting guys on base. We just got to get that big hit.
What have you seen from the stuff out of Cole Wilcox?
Well, it's electric stuff. He's got a lot of life on. The fastball's got a lot of life. He can throw that breaking ball and change up at any time, too. It's electric stuff.
Thank you, coach.
Okay, thanks.
Scott Strickland was a 23rd round pick of the Twins coming out of Kent State in 1993. He would play primarily in the Minnesota organization through the mid-90s, and then with the Braves as a 24-year-old in 96 in the Southern League, where one of his teammates was a 19-year-old Andrew Jones. Both of these head coaches played in the Braves organization. Dave Van Horn was drafted by the Braves in the 10th round in 1982. I'll buy a pop to either one of you guys if you can tell me who the Braves took with their 13th round pick in 1982.
1982. Bruce Benedict.
Great guess. A person of consequence outside of baseball in collegiate sports as a football coach.
Jimbo Fisher.
Urban Meyer, you were so close. Into right center. And Jack Kenley is retired. 1 down. Interesting draft for the Braves in '82. They took Urban Meyer, and they also went a little deeper. And they drafted Del Curry.
Really?
I take that back. I was wrong. But I didn't have to correct. The Rangers took Del Curry in the 37th round in 1982. So you had Urban Meyer and Del Curry both being drafted in the same MLB draft. Here's Casey Opitz. You wouldn't have dropped a really on me if I would have just said Rangers from the start, would you?
Nah, no. I may have.
Skipped off of the bicep of Shane Marshall. Two balls and a strike.
Life's good when you've got an 89-mile-an-hour changeup. It's definitely Wilcox's 3rd pitch. The slider is really good.
Only throws the changeup 6% of the time.
And sometimes when you're facing a guy that throws this hard, you almost sit on that pitch. If he's got command of his changeup and you know at some point in the sequence of the at-bat he's going to drop it in for a strike, that's the pitch you hit.
Not easy to hit the fastball, and he's hit 99 on the radar gun 10 times this year. 8 of those times it's come with a 2-strike count. See if he lets it go here. 1-out walk. Jacob Nesbitt doubled to left his first time up, doubled and scored.
Maybe action right here. I feel like you're going to string a bunch of hits together against Wilcox. You get a 1-1 count. Opitz runs pretty good on first base.
Tucker Maxwell.
By action, I meant a fly ball to center field.
You were right on it.
Nailed it.
Here's Christian Franklin.
Now, Todd, you've talked about Franklin. What you like from this freshman? What's stood out to you in the times you've seen him?
The main thing is he's got pop the opposite way. And the ball he hit off Tennessee in week 7, like I was saying, went out of the ballpark. That was down the right field line. And he's a guy that you could put at the top of the lineup and will be in the top of the lineup for Arkansas. That I think, they rake. So, there's not a whole lot of holes there anyway, but they want to keep him comfortable, and they're going to leave him in the 9-hole. But this is probably one of the better 9-hole hitters in the conference. And there you see right there, it gets jammed a little bit, but stays through the ball, base hit up the middle, and he can really run too.
So 2 aboard with 2 down for Trevor Ezell. Was a Louisville Slugger All-America at Bryant High School in Arkansas. Recruited by Steve Beezer at Southeast Missouri State. Beezer went on to take the head job at Mizzou. Andy Sawyers took over the program in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Played at Nebraska. Tight with Dave Van Horn. Rob Childress at A&M. That one went right through the wickets after it came off the glove. Opitz to third. Franklin to second. Both advancing on a wild pitch. And for bookkeeping purposes, they changed one of the earlier wild pitches to a pass ball. So that is the second for Cole Wilcox.
Just a changeup, and this time he just pulls it to the other side of the plate. Usually when you miss that changeup in the dirt, you're going to miss it arm side. So from a catching standpoint, it's on your glove side there. It's a lot easier to make that play. Marshall had to move all the way across the plate, just couldn't get there in time. But Wilcox still a pitch away from getting out of it.
One to Ezell, misses upstairs. Was chatting with Trevor a couple weeks ago about the difference between the Ohio Valley Conference and the SEC, and he said, listen, it's not like there wasn't talent there. He played alongside Joey Lucchese, who's now a starter with the Padres. But you certainly didn't see the depth of talent in a league like that, either on your team or others. And you never played in front of crowds like this.
He's made this transition seem pretty smooth, though. 8 home runs out of the leadoff spot, 45 walks, 47 strikeouts coming into the game, and 17-18 stolen bases. Ezell has been an ideal leadoff hitter for Arkansas.
He has started every game of his college career. 96 over Cook, missed inside, and the count goes full. Strike 3 called. Missed opportunity for Arkansas. No runs on a hit and a couple left. 1-0 game, middle of the 5th. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Driven deep to right field. It is gone. We're going to extras. I've heard the phrase rally boot before, but never in regard to baseball.
In the club.
This is the weirdest club I've ever been to. Up the middle, past Smith. We're going home after 17. A game that ended at 3:03 a.m. Latest finishing time in the history of this tournament. Longest game in tournament history, clocking in at 6 hours and 43 minutes. I don't know about you guys, but I was golden for about the first 5 hours and 50 minutes.
Was it maybe the 14th or the 15th? Is when parachute came out.
Mississippi State tied it in the 15th thanks to an error, and everybody in the ballpark was surprised by that one. There's a ground ball to first. And Cheney Rogers is retired. Georgia was no hit through the first 7 in the 3rd innings yesterday. They've got 2 hits through the first 4 innings today. There was a point in last night's game early in the morning, Todd, where you were asked a question and you said, "I'm sorry, I don't have any original thoughts. I can answer a question if you ask me one, but I can't come up with anything on my own."
You got to generate it. You got to generate it at 3 a.m. That's a different experience, man. They don't tell you about that when you fill out the job application. I have played a baseball game at 9 a.m. in the Metrodome, but never had to stay up that late for a game.
You're a late night guy anyway. You
only when I'm with you.
Yeah, fair. Still on that major league sleep schedule. But we worked extra innings. You had extra innings. And don't forget, SEC Now will be with us all day and all throughout the tournament, before and after every game of the tournament. SEC Now team will be here. We'll have Dari under the lights and Peter for the day games. Highlights, analysis, player, coach reactions from day's games. Some analysis even makes sense, as opposed to when Todd goes over there at 3:15 in the morning. It's all the coverage you'd expect from the SEC Network.
I had the 20-inning game. Georgia played Clemson at home, and might have jinxed last night when I said it, but you know how many strikeouts were in that game earlier? Between the two teams, Clemson and Georgia, 50.
How long did it take, you remember?
Not as long as last night. What was it, 6 hours and right up under 6 hours and 30 minutes?
There was an energy at the ballpark in Athens that night, though, because a lot of the students that had been at one of the local establishments got wind of what was going on. So they came over to the ballpark.
Yeah.
And there's like 30 guys behind home plate that were well hydrated, and they were energetic. And it was such a cool event because then a week later, Scott Strickland brought those guys out to the ballpark and they threw them BP.
You know it's a long game when you can go to dinner at 7. You can go out and hang out all night until the bars close and then go to the baseball game, catch about 6 innings.
There's ball 4 to Tucker Maxwell. Third walk from Isaiah Campbell. Longest in SEC tournament history. And pardon me, that game last night, longest in SEC history, not just tournament history. There's 303 Central, by the way. In the last 2 days, LSU spent 9 hours and 44 minutes on the field. So when you have late games like that as a player, you found in your career that it affects you more the day after or 2 days after? What role does adrenaline play?
I think we've all had those nights where we stay up a little too late, you know, and the next day you're okay. It's the day after that it really affects you. And I don't know if it matters how much sleep you get. So LSU now is going to be able to sleep till tomorrow afternoon if they want to. And I think you'll see them a little groggy tomorrow. I think it definitely affects you then. They played well today.
LSU will have the second game tomorrow. Ole Miss awaits the loser of this one for game number 1 tomorrow. To short.
Good decision.
And what a play. First twin killing for Arkansas. Casey Martin getting it down behind Isaiah Campbell. It's 1-0 through 5.
What's been a really well-pitched game on both sides. A freshman Cole Wilcox, we talked about the stuff. Fastball's been up to 97 today. Control, for the most part, has been very good. Arkansas has pushed just 1 run across. Fastball slider for the most part. A little help on that strikeout there to Trevor Ezell. 5 strong innings. 4 strikeouts, 2 walks for Wilcox so far. The 1 run is unearned. Isaiah Campbell's been just a tick better. 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, and has pitched out of a few jams on his side. But on both sides, you're seeing guys that look like aces in this league.
And so what a huge advantage the winner to skip tomorrow and head straight to the semifinals on Saturday. And as good as Cole Wilcox has been, he's not the ace of this staff. So what do you figure? Emerson Hancock would start the next game for Georgia regardless, would be your best guess, whether that's tomorrow or Saturday?
I think it's, I mean, if Georgia's looked that far ahead, and obviously they know they're going to play at home next weekend, so you're 1 seed, I think they're going to be a top 8 national seed overall. It's whether or not they made a decision as to who they want to throw game 1, which will be a week from tomorrow. And then you try to set it up that way.
Casey Martin, erased by Tucker Maxwell with great hustle.
But Georgia's one of the few in the country now, with Wilcox throwing the way that he is, that has 3 real starters. I mean, guys that you can go into a regional and say, put them in whatever order that you want. I think you got to put Hancock 1 at least as your ace. Now, whether you pitch him game 1 or game 2, you got to figure out. But they got 4 really starters that you can really count on.
Yeah, Tim Elliott's been very good too.
Very good yesterday.
Yeah.
Tony Losi is 10-1 with a 2.5 ERA. So let's just put you in Scott Strickland's shoes. Let's assume that you're facing a 4 seed that you would be a heavy favorite against, which is likely. And regardless of the 2 seed in your bracket,
I would throw Losi.
Throw Losi. You get a nice, easy win. Hopefully he goes really deep in the game. He's obviously more stable than Cole Wilcox, who has not been starting all season.
Yeah, I would Losi, Hancock game 2, and then.
And you could have Wilcox coming behind Hancock if you wanted
Wilcox, you could have Elliott. C.J. Smith back yet. If they get C.J. Smith, he could figure into that, or you could push him into the bullpen. I mean, the depth for Georgia, both from the starting side and the bullpen side, is a little bit laughable. I mean, it kind of reminds you of a Florida staff.
I was going to say, it resembles 2017 and 2016 Florida, where you can pick and choose and ride the hot hand.
As a team, they remind you of that. I mean, that Florida team offensively was not great. That Florida team really defended. And the pitching staff was as good as you would see anybody have.
96-mile-an-hour fastball looked at for strikeout number 5 for Cole Wilcox. Keep talking about this guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's different than the rest of them. And I think the thing with Hancock is the stuff matches up with everybody. It's the control. 18 walks, 91 strikeouts for Emerson Hancock this year, who missed a few turns, had a lat issue. Now back, feels good. Last bullpen he threw before he came back and threw in the game, he bumped 99, so he's probably feeling okay.
From Cairo, Georgia, 6'4", 215. Diamondbacks use their 38th round selection on him coming out of the Syrup Maker program. Golden Spikes Award semifinalist. Just missed out on being the pitcher of the year in this league, leading the country in WHIP, 4th in the country in ERA, probably because he missed those 2 starts late. (3-0) now.
I think the other reason, if you're Georgia, that maybe you can take, and Tony Losi's not taking a chance, but you don't feel like you have to throw your ace game 1, is because of that depth. And if something strange happens, you get thrown into a loser's bracket in a regional, you've still got plenty of arms to get through it.
Two-out walk puts Dominic Fletcher aboard. 3rd walk for Wilcox against those 5 strikeouts, and Heston Kjerstad coming up. Bloop single for Kjerstad first time up, and another wild pitch. Most by a Georgia pitcher this season. Fletcher now to second.
You know, there's nights where, and Wilcox is a 3-pitch guy, fastball, slider, changeup. That was a changeup again. The changeup, he hasn't looked comfortable throwing it one time tonight. And the stuff is plenty good just to throw 2. I mean, I think that's one you put in your pocket at this point, just given how tight this ball game is. He's going to beat about anybody with fastball, slider if he locates it right. The changeup just doesn't come out of his hand right tonight.
So if that's the point, why?
Threw it again, and Kirstead swung right over the top. 1-0 him. What were you going to ask, though?
Well, I was going to. Why throw the changeup? You throw it 6% of the time, and he just showed why he would. That guy should have been here at 2 o'clock in the morning. Be interesting to watch Cole Wilcox develop and their success at the next level. Ground ball to second. Continue that thought with Isaiah Campbell on the mound. No runs, a walk, and 1 left. Georgia's got great pitching on the mound and on the clipboard. Well, Isaiah Campbell helped out by great defense throughout the evening already tonight.
Casey Martin right there, and you could tell even Martin has plenty of arm strength, even if there's a little hesitation. There was the first time. 2 great plays by Martin. And another one right here, and a good decision walk just to take it himself. Could have flipped it, but he may have the best arm on the field, but for the guys that are standing on the mound. And if Casey Martin can take it himself, that's the one you want him to. Campbell, 5 innings, 2 hits. I think this is predetermined to where they wanted to keep him 70, 75 pitches, make sure he's ready to go next weekend.
Well, back to Casey Martin, too. You like the decision-making process there. Took the bag himself. Anytime you can take the bag instead of flipping it, you want to do that. And he was going to try to do it the other time, so he couldn't make the play at second. Went ahead and went to first and made the accurate throw. So the decision-making by Casey Martin at shortstop has been huge today.
So they turn it over to Southlake, Texas's Cole Ramage. Went 4 1/3 at Texas A&M last time out through season high 77 pitches on May 17th. 7-1, an ERA just under 5. 2-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Aaron Schunk bats third. He is 0 for 2 today. Schunk missed some time with a heel injury. I was talking to him during the Missouri series. I said, have you ever missed much time throughout your high school career or college? And he said, it's a guy who played quarterback too, by the way. He said, yeah, I think I missed half of an inning after a concussion in high school.
That qualifies as missing time.
Didn't have much patience sitting in the dugout watching other guys play. One-two pitch. And Schunk is retired. LJ Talley coming to the plate. Number 1 seeds haven't had a good go of it in conference tournaments this week. Louisville, went 0-2 in Durham. Indiana went 0-2 in the Big Ten tournament. Florida Gulf Coast 2 in barbecue in the A-Sun. Sam Houston State 0-2 in the Southland, and East Carolina lost its first game but avoided elimination in the American.
What do you think about East Carolina? They're top 8?
No, I don't think they're top 8. They'll host. I think they'll absolutely host. They blew through the American this year. Non-conference was good.
Yeah.
They could have won 1 game at UCLA, and I know winning 1 doesn't seem like a lot, but they helped them just a little bit. But swept at UCLA, had some good midweek wins. Cliff Godwin's club should be at home at least next weekend.
Beat Ole Miss this year. Beat North Carolina. UCLA swept them.
To the right side, and 2 down.
Look around the country, UCLA, no Pac-12 postseason tournament. So UCLA, Stanford start their final 3-game series tonight. Cardinal going on the road against Arizona State. That's the one that maybe could push up. If they go sweep Arizona State on the road, Stanford gets back into that discussion for the 8th and final national seed. Arkansas, Georgia here. Louisville 0-2 in the ACC tournament.
Here's John Cable. He was 1 for 2 today, and he drives this one to center field. Dominic Fletcher on the run to the track, and he will ease off the throttle before hauling it in. Cole Ramage puts him down in order. I feel you. It was an early morning and a long day. We need pillows, please. Umpires trying to stay hydrated between the jabs. It's not just the announcers who give a hard time to the guys they're working with. Let's listen in to Marcus Patillo.
Just want to come check on my hero.
Who? Where is it?
You!
Wait a minute now.
I saw you throw that ball.
Which one?
The ball back to the pitcher.
See it?
It's like your arm had a baby with a rag arm and a noodle arm.
Yeah. Well,
that's called a rag-a-noodle arm?
Rag-a-noodle.
Fantastic, yeah. Love the Nats, but I love you more.
I could have used some rag-a-noodle pasta last night at about 2:30.
Mid-game snack.
Tony Walsh behind the plate. If you like that kind of chatter, the odd couple, Chris Burke and Ben McDonald, will be back in the booth for Game 1 tomorrow.
What did they get on each other for today? I didn't hear. I was sleeping.
What didn't they get on each other about? Here's Jack Kenley. Poor Dave Neal sitting in between them, trying to keep peace at the United Nations. Mike Rooney, the translator. Thrown away after great range by Shepard, and it kicks off the wall to keep Kenley at the bag.
Cam Shepard's been pretty consistent for Georgia. This ball hit to his left side. Makes a good grab, but with his momentum going on in the right field, he just pulls the ball off to the side. Patrick Sullivan, again, one of the best defensive first basemen in the league, can't handle it.
I give Shepard an air right there. That's just his 3rd of the season.
First in conference play.
That's tough. You really got to pull that left shoulder through to square yourself up to the bag as you're moving away from.
Riley King underneath it. And Casey Opitz is retired. 1 down. 2 top 6 teams according to the polls. Arkansas number 4 in the country. Georgia number 6, the 2 and 3 seeds in this tournament. And later tonight, a top 5 showdown. Vanderbilt number 2 in the country. Mississippi State 5th. And Vandy has won 19 out of 20. Hello.
Wow. Cole Wilcox tries to overthrow this fastball and just lifts it. Trying to throw 110 right there.
Can't do anything with that one. Marshall catches that one. He may dislocate his shoulder.
That's right. Blowing back to the backstop.
Jacob Nesbitt doubled in the 3rd and scored the lone run so far today. Redshirt freshman from Capel, Texas. Ryan Webb dealt with some injuries late in the season. He's getting loose in the Georgia bullpen. I like those stripes.
Old school. Real stirrups.
This has been a great ad for Georgia in their bullpen. Ryan Webb really has an electric arm from the left side. Wipeout slider. Just got him back, like you mentioned, to an already pretty deep bullpen. That's just another arm they can use down the stretch.
I just noticed that Cole Wilcox is wearing the same stirrups. They're real and they're spectacular.
They have stripes.
The bottom of those things always bothered me. That's why I couldn't wear them.
And they roll.
You know, they wrap around the bottom of your foot. And you can feel it.
Isn't that how they're designed, to wrap around the bottom of your foot?
That's how they're designed, and that's why I didn't wear them, because they were too uncomfortable. Although you see he's got a second pair of socks, probably for that reason.
Nesbitt reaches. So 2 on with 1 out. And that'll do it for Cole Wilcox. So this one will be decided by the bullpens, it seems. Different pitcher, same stirrups. Ryan Webb will replace Cole Wilcox. Look, he's wearing socks under his too.
That's some great eyes.
Struck out 5, but walked 4 over 6 1/3. And his final walk chased him from the game. 102 pitches and 4 wild pitches for Wilcox. For the hard throwing right-hander, and he'll hand it off to a hard throwing left-hander. Ryan Webb.
Todd, you were talking about him, and this is just continues the strength of this Georgia team. Webb, you got a lefty, can get into the low 90s. 10 walks in 20 1/3, but he struck out 21. Missed a little bit of time this year, but they are happy to have him back. Setup role in this bullpen, can fill a few different spots. It's an Arkansas lineup that's not left-handed heavy or right-handed heavy until you really get to Goodhart in a 3 spot. Then they go 4 left-handers in a row, but he'll face a right-handed freshman Franklin and then the switch-hitting Trevor Ezell.
Webb missed 6 weeks with arm soreness. Returned to action April 20th. Inherits a pair of runners with 1 out. And bends one in for strike 1. Chopped off the plate. Talley will kick the bag. Sidearms a little bit. Got enough on it for an inning-ending double play. And we'll stretch it out after that one. Nice play by Georgia's middle infield.
Anytime you can take it by yourself, you go ahead and do it. Nice play by Talley for the double play.
Hoover, Alabama, and the Hoover Met, home of the SEC tournament. A fantastic crowd in here last night, 13,902. And a good chunk of them stuck around to the very end. Here's Cam Shepard. Hit a Madam ball last time up, lined out to the third baseman. Todd, you were talking about how Cam Shepard is squaring balls up, but they're not going anywhere. Batting average and balls in play. Cam Shepard's only hitting .264. Just pull Jake Mangum out because I figure that guy's going to have high numbers on just about everything. But usually BABIP is just a sign of luck.
Yeah.
You hit the ball hard and you happen to hit it at somebody. Tough luck, even though you might still get confidence from that as a hitter, or no?
I always felt like, no. If I got to place the first time up and hit a bullet and I'm out, I was pretty upset about it.
Okay.
You know, but I'm a negative guy. So I think overall, I mean, Cam's always had a pretty good attitude. I talked to him when we were there a few weeks ago. And, you know, look, I mean, in this game, you've got to hold down your defensive position either, especially if you're a shortstop. There's a bullet up the middle right there. And you got to separate the two, and Cam Shepard does a great job of that. But he can really swing it. He's going to play a long time.
Tommy, I think to your point, I mean, the one thing that maybe gets lost a little bit in the college season, I mean, big league season's 162 games. This season, 60, 65, 70 if you go to the postseason. And so over the course of the season, that batting average of balls in play at the major league level starts to come a little bit closer together. And I think to your point, I mean, some of it is just bad offensive luck at this point.
And that's a great point. That's what I was going to add to that is in a college baseball season where you might get, 200 at bats, they may not even out. You get in a big league season where you get 600 at bats, they definitely even out if you get to play every day. And you just got to stick with it because you are going to go 0 for 20, 0 for 25 at that level. But in the college season, you're a little more susceptible to luck. I mean, you got to hope that some balls fall for you, especially early. You know, we already talked about Casey Martin, who recovered from an early slump. It can happen. Will Holland.
Runner goes, hitting one, little dribbler out in front. Opitz fires to first, and Shepard is advanced. Do you think teams at the next level, as they scout these guys getting ready for the draft, take into account that stuff? I mean, obviously, what they use from a statistical perspective, a lot of it's proprietary, what they value over other organizations.
Yeah, I think they absolutely do. And there's a few kind of under the radar sites out there, companies out there that can get more defensive analytics, more advanced analytics to major league teams. So you're not just looking at the stat sheet trying to figure out who's who. But if you get two shortstops that have the identical fielding percentage, it doesn't mean they're the same player. One guy may get to 50 more balls than the other. And that's one of the harder things, I think. You go back 10, 15, 20 years about scouting guys at college. You didn't have that data. Now you've got a lot more of that data, and it allows you to project that player a lot more moving forward.
Well, a lot of numbers now. I mean, used to be there was word of mouth. Yeah, this kid's had a tough season. He can really swing it. You go off of that. But, you know, I mean, as long as you're not striking out a lot, I think you're not overly concerned with what your average is, especially if you're helping the team. You know, guy on second, nobody out, you're rolling over it to get him out. That hurts your average. But if you're doing things to help the team out, I think that's the most important thing, especially this time of year. And that's what's beautiful about the postseason. You know, this is a team game played by a bunch of individuals. And so you kind of take that approach through the course of the year. If you're being honest, I mean, you're trying to get yours. You know, you're trying to get your numbers. But this time of year, it starts to evolve into a team atmosphere where I'm not overly concerned with what I hit.
Connor Tate at the plate, pinch hitting for the catcher Shane Marshall. Tate from Bishop, Georgia, just outside of Athens, Oconee High School. Strike called. Speaking of small sample size, Georgia 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Head out of Athens to Watkinsville, go south on Highway 441, and you'll run into Bishop. Population 224. And of those 224, a pair of brothers, Connor and Cole Tate, have made their way to the University of Georgia to play baseball. 2-2.
The other thing that's getting more prevalent is exit velocity, which is such a good indicator of just how hard somebody's hitting it consistently. And over time, if you're hitting harder, you're going to get more hits. I mean, it's tougher for the defense to defend.
That one was hit hard. It will make its way all the way into the corner. Christian Franklin finds it, but not before Cam Shepard scores. And Georgia has tied this thing in the 7th. Pinch hit double for Connor Tate.
That's a tough gig coming off the bench. There's nowhere really to warm up in that dugout for Tate. Gets in there hunting the fastball. Gets one middle in, pulls that barrel in and rips it down the line and gives Georgia some life here in the 7th. That's a tough deal. That's something you can't teach. Pull those hands in first so you can find the barrel and then rip it down the line. You've got to have quick hands to move on that one. And again, when you come off the bench and you're not very warm and you haven't seen too much, your timing's off, that's big time for Tate.
Do you ever get comfortable as a pinch hitter?
Never. What they teach you is just go up hacking, you know, because my game was more to be a little more patient. Of course, it depended on the situation. If I played Pedro Martinez my first at bat, I'm going early because he's going to strike you out if you don't. But I was generally pretty patient. So when I, as a left-handed hitter in the American League, had a pinch hit, it was usually against closers in the ninth. And that's another situation where you've got to get real aggressive early and hunt the fastball. And so that was my only approach. But if I played every day, I had a little more feel, more timing, all that other stuff that allows you to be successful. But as a pinch hitter, it was a totally different scenario.
Nothing in 2 now to Cheney Rogers in the 9-hole. There's a little bit of room behind both of these dugouts. Clubhouses up the stairs and in the hallway if you wanted to get a little bit of swinging in, but the visiting team at Wrigley Field,
no chance.
No chance. You pinch hit there, you got no place to swing, at least before they redid things.
Yeah, nowadays I think they've made more accommodations. Metrodome was the same way. And you had to go all the way down right field and up the stairs and around the corner in a $5 cab ride to get any swings in. And that all depends, too, if Tate was told early enough.
Yeah.
You know, if they've got a place for him to go, I mean, still got to run back there and do it. I mean, a lot of times they make that split-second decision. You've got to be ready to go. And, you know,
so how did you accelerate your warm-up program to include very few swings and be ready?
You get on deck and put that weight on that bat and start swinging like crazy, like the Tasmanian devil. But, you know, nowadays they get the pitching staffs out there down the line and they stretch, right? I mean, you didn't do that back when you were now. And, you know,
in between innings?
Yeah, in between innings. They'll run in the right field and they'll do calisthenics, whatever crazy stuff they do.
Here, I'd love to see that at the big league level. So you told your bullpen every half inning, hey, why don't you guys run out there and do jumping jacks every other
Every single one of them would look at them
I'll see you there.
Yeah. You go first.
Rogers down looking, and now Tucker Maxwell back at the top of the order, tied at 1 in the 7th.
That reminds me in Cincinnati, you know, we'd always have the pregame stretch, and Ken Griffey Jr. never stretched, never. So he'd walk out there with us, he'd be there with a bungo bat over his shoulder,
just stand there,
walking around talking to people,
really?
But never stretched, ever. And who's going to tell him, you know, hey, can you touch your toes, please? Do something. Do something. All right.
Pretty good pitching matchup in the nightcap tonight. Ethan Small at 8-1 against 10-0 Drake Fellows, Mississippi State versus Vandy. Speaking of, Georgia guys have been getting loose. Didn't go. 3-0 now. Four-pitch walk to the leadoff hitter. And that'll bring Riley King up. Here's what's next. State fans will make their way into the ballpark to see these two guys go head-to-head.
The SEC pitcher of the year in Ethan Small, 139 punch-outs, 22 walks on the year for Small. He's got a chance to lead the country in strikeouts this year. Drake Fellows, perfect 10-0, the Friday night starter for Vanderbilt. Got some aces going today.
Yeah, Ethan Small is really tough, especially on lefties. Mix up his timing, even in his windup. Comes from the top. Crazy angle he puts on that baseball, and good slider, good command of the zone.
Here's Riley King after a visit to the mound. King loaded up and sent a pop up to right. In the sunlight, handled by Heston Kjerstad. Georgia able to tie it, a run on a couple of hits, 2 stranded. We go to the 8th.
Welcome back. Trevor Ezell leading off for Arkansas this inning, and he grew up outside of Little Rock, so he had Razorback in his blood, but he did not get recruited by them, ended up having to go to Southeast Missouri State. I asked Dave Van Horn why he didn't go after him when he was in high school. He said, well, he came to camps, he didn't play very well, he also weighed $150. He said he went to college, he put on some weight, now at about 190. And when he knew he had an extra year, he wanted him really bad. So when he was in Omaha last year, Dave Van Horn called him every single day, all 15 days he was there. He wasn't certain he was going to come to Arkansas. He was also getting recruited and taking some visits to Texas A&M, but in the end, he wasn't going to lose out on him a second time, and he came to join the Razorbacks.
I was talking to Dave about that last week, Chris, and it's funny, you know, here he is coaching in the most important games of his life, and it's all about the now for a coach in that scenario, trying to win a national championship. You have to balance the building of a program and the future of your program at the same time. And the message to Trevor every day he called was just wait, just hold on. We've got a few days left here.
Got a few things going on here.
We want to talk to you, want to get this figured out, but just don't do anything rash. Grad transfer out of Southeast Missouri State, where he was on the OVC All-Freshman team, first team All-Conference last year, hit .377 and a 42-game on-base streak. And he sends one high and deep to left field. It is into the glove. What a diving grab made by Riley King.
Riley King had to find this ball first, so he kind of took a left turn when the ball was hit, and then he starts tracking backwards to make this play. Nice play nonetheless. I mean, wow. Over your right shoulder to dive toward the fence, navigate where the fence is so you don't bang your head, and make that play at the warning track.
Ballpark's playing a little bit different today than it has the previous two. I mean, the flag's really not moving. That ball feels like it may get carried out of here the last 2 days. Instead, Riley King had enough time to run it down.
That's impressive. I mean, you got to keep your eyes still during that whole process, which means you're running on your toes. And if you're not, that ball's jumping all over the place. You don't make that play. Nice job by Riley King to recover.
Just a half inning ago, King flew out with 2 men on and a chance to add to the Georgia lead. Casey Martin is 0 for 3 tonight. 6th in the league in slugging, 3rd in home runs, 10th in ribbies, 5th in doubles. He's got a fly out, a pop out, and a strikeout.
This may be the most exciting athlete in this league right now. Martin, just a sophomore. Third base last year for Arkansas, moved over to short this year. He's made a fair amount of errors, but can do things athletically that not too many others on the field can do. Can absolutely fly, has big time power, 15 home runs that leads Arkansas. He will go really high next year.
3 inside the park home runs this season from Martin, 2 of them coming in the same week. .390 average with 9 home runs over the last 24. Brian Webb retires him on a strikeout.
The 3-2 changeup right there. Right over the top of it. Webb sink on that. Casey Martin, who's got the power to hit the ball out of the ballpark, give Arkansas the lead back. Didn't see the changeup, swung over the top. 2 quick outs in the inning for Webb.
Pulled foul, 0-1.
Matt Goodhart, one of the top hitters in this league, out of San Jack Junior College. They produced a few. Alaric Solari from Tennessee, also from San Jack.
Years ago, that was Roger Clemens, wasn't it? I think Clemens was a San Jack guy. Andy Pettit, Wayne Graham was the head coach.
Tied at 1, middle of the 8th, thanks to a fantastic grab by Riley King. We take a look at regions. Who's taking the next step? Riley King took a lot of steps, changed his route, left his feet, and took extra bases away from Trevor Ezell.
What is up? Whenever this one ends, we'll get you to the next game. We'll get you ready for the game around the country coming up. Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. Also show you how LSU adds to its book of Hoover Miracles winners to our set as well. We just figured this out, though. The next time we're on the air at 3:30 in the morning, Tom Hart is going to do it with us so we can hear more about his experience with Rally Boost, guys.
Makes sense.
Yeah, well,
that
that's
usually
about
goes hand in hand with 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, about the time it shows up. That's right. See if State brings the footwear back tonight. Got a Rally Banana Peel going too. Be a thriller to follow. It's a pretty good one going out in the Big 12 right now. Texas Tech leading West Virginia 1-0. Texas Tech angling for a top 8 national seed. Jacob Kostychak comes out of the bullpen, junior from O'Fallon, Missouri, right-hander, English major. We could have used his help at times last night.
He'd have been appalled.
Not sure what that means, but I agree.
He knows. 25 strikeouts, 26 innings for Kostychak. Fastball can get into the mid-90s when it's going right. It can be a turbo sinker. He's added the four-seamer up and out of the zone this year too. Part of an Arkansas bullpen that will flash some power arms. Matt Cronin, the left-hander, I don't think we'll see him throw unless Arkansas gets the lead, but Cronin, one of the best closers in the country.
We did have some mismatched syntax last night, a time or two, I believe. Shunk with a ground ball foul. In the SEC tournament, Georgia's offense hasn't shown up till late. They've only scored 3 runs, but they've all come in the 7th or later. Another score of note to SEC fans. UC Santa Barbara is competing for a chance to be a top 16 seed and host. If so, they would host in Las Vegas at the AAA ballpark. They're trailing Cal Poly 3-0 right now. UC Santa Barbara has 0 wins, 0 games against top 50 opponents. But a bad weekend and their RPI could take a hit.
Yeah, that's one where if you're LSU, if you're Texas A&M, you're definitely watching that one. You're watching West Virginia this weekend. Baylor at the Big 12 tournament. All of those that could jump up, grab one of the last 2 or 3 hosting spots.
Baylor will match up with Oklahoma State later tonight in Oklahoma City. Two balls and 2 strikes.
For the bubble watch, Creighton was getting whipped today. Came back to beat Seton Hall. Creighton's going to get in as an at-large. That's Florida and Missouri. You get to be a fan of some teams around the country now.
Big East tournament being played in Mason, Ohio. What ballpark is in Mason, Ohio?
Sure. It's where they're playing the Big East tournament.
That's right. Really, especially with the ACC will be going through next year. Their location TBD really helps you appreciate what we have here in Hoover even more. Prasco Park, home of the Cincinnati Spikes, I believe. Full count now to Shunk. If he can give him the lead, he'll probably also try to protect it. He's their closer. And he yanks it into the corner. That one will skip off of the fence. Franklin hurries it back in. Shunk to second. The throw wasn't on the bag because Kenley wasn't on the bag. Leadoff double for Aaron Shunk here in the 8th.
Yeah, Kenley getting late to the bag. This is not the way Kostychuk wanted to start off. Gets to a predictable fastball count, 3-2, and Aaron Shunk out of the 3-0 rips it down the left field line. Look at that power right out of the gates. All the way to the wall, and Georgia has a leadoff double here in the 8th.
That was played as well as you can play it left by Franklin. He took it on the one hop off the wall, and if Kenley standing at second base, they got a chance right there because he had to catch it and then run back and try to make the tag. I think that the throw surprised Kenley.
Well, and I think a lot of times you give in to the fact that it's going to be just a guaranteed double, and so you're a little lazy getting to second base. I think that was part of it as well. And then Kenley's out of position.
Yeah, he's 2 or 3 steps off of it.
Yeah, so and the reason being is because if it's going to be a possible triple, you trail the shortstop out in that position. So he ran out just, I don't want to call it laziness, but, I think he thought that it was just a guaranteed double, and so he was out of position.
LJ Talley is 0 for 3. A couple of 3 groundouts, I should say. One more score of note. Another possible bid stealer versus an at-large. Dallas Baptist won in the Missouri Valley tournament, eliminating Evansville. Dallas Baptist an at-large.
Dallas Baptist is in, yeah.
Yep. And Michigan got a big one.
Beat Illinois, didn't they?
Yep, knocked Illinois out of the Big Ten tournament. We're looking at 4 from the Big Ten.
Nebraska, yes. Illinois, yes.
Iowa.
Lost here. Indiana, yes. Iowa, no. Iowa's going to have to win that tournament, I think. Michigan, potentially.
Nice.
He's doing a job right there.
Scoop, Trevor Uzel, and it will advance the base runner. Shunk ends up at third after Talley's ground out.
He's had a really good senior year. Offense has started to come around. Talley could always defend. He's made just 3 errors this year at second base. He's going to be a really good senior sign for somebody.
Well, the situational awareness too, right there. He has to bit the ball the right side. They don't want to bunt. They're going to let him swing the bat, but he knows his job. Just hit it to the right side, get the guy over to third base with less than 2 outs.
We talked about this yesterday. We talked about it with Vanderbilt, having seniors in important roles. Georgia has 2 seniors right in the middle of this lineup. Talley hitting 4th, John Cable here hitting 5th, and that's a big advantage. These guys have been around this league for a while.
Infield in. Go ahead run at third with 1 down, and John Cable at the plate. Cable is 1 for 3. Cable, grad transfer from New Orleans. And 92 upstairs from Kostychuk.
Nice job by Opitz right there. Wow. That was another one always blew his glove off.
He's been great back there, too. He's thrown out, just shy of 50% this year. 19 of 40. Opitz has thrown out trying to steal. Switch hit and catcher.
Popped up. We got some drama with runner at third earlier today. LSU in an elimination game looking for some Hoover luck with Chris Reed at the plate. Pitch got in the dirt, and the catcher, Matt Scheffler, never found it. Reed waved the runners home. Giovanni DiGiacomo able to tie the game, and then guess what? The ball was thrown away. And LSU, with some Hoover magic, got the win.
Scheffler kicked it. Didn't see it at his foot.
He kicked
blocked it. He blocked it right out in front of him.
And then Chris Reed inadvertently did the right thing. He stood there. So he kind of blocked the ball. I mean, Scheffler couldn't find it. Then when the first baseman come all the way over and grab it, and trying to make a miracle throw, threw it away.
Cable sitting on 7 home runs. Got him swinging.
That's huge.
And there's that sink that Kostichak can get. When he gets that hand over the top of the baseball, it has this action that just gets all the way off the left-handed bat. Starts maybe outside corner of the plate, but then just takes off. Cable can't hold up. Kostichak needed it. Strikeout right there and got it.
And that was nasty. A lot of times when you strike out, it's not the third pitch that makes the difference. He missed the fastball for the first strike. That was the ball he should have hit that was elevated.
And so here's Cam Shepard, who's hit it hard twice tonight. Lined out in the 4th, and then a line drive in the 7th. By the way, we set a record by being here until 3:03 last night. Intentional walk now. And we also set a record at the beginning of this game. First pitch temp of 94, the hottest first pitch in SEC tournament history.
That shocks me.
A little unusual, right?
I feel like it's hot every year we come down here.
Hey, the nice thing about today is we've had a lot of cloud cover, so while it was 94, down here, field level, it actually has felt cooler than the last 2 days.
Just as dangerous, though, isn't it?
I mean, I'm under an umbrella, so.
Yeah, well, see if that protects you against a Jake Mangum line drive again.
True.
Runner goes from first. They will not throw through. And so Shepard picks up a bag. By the way, shout out to our crew and our camera guys who were here until 3:15, 3:30 in the morning, and then back here for a 9:30 start today.
And they are standing in that 94-degree heat. Dodging line drives.
Right. Commencement speeches throughout the country this time of year. If you want to work in television, wear comfortable shoes. That would be my speech. That's it.
Go get them. Don't pass on the curves.
Kostichak with 91. A ball and 2 strikes now to Patrick Sullivan. Sullivan hitless so far. Two balls, 2 strikes. After Sullivan, it'll be Mason Meadows. He came in to catch following Connor Tate's pinch hit double. Dangerous play. Franklin charging. That is a fair ball, and it gets by the left fielder. 2 runs will score. Sullivan stops at second. And Georgia, once again with late offense, takes control up 3-1.
Sometimes you just got to be lucky. Pat Sullivan was paying attention to John Cable swinging, missing at that ball in the outside corner. Gets enough of it off the end of the bat. That ball's on the outside, and the difference is it's elevated a little bit. Perfect placement for Patrick Sullivan down the left field line. Franklin trying to come in and make a play, and once he stops flat-footed, the ball gets by him, and 2-run score for Georgia.
They not charge an error to Franklin, a double all the way, a 2-run double for Sullivan. Mason Meadows due to the plate. Dave Van Horn's going to go to his bullpen. For Georgia, the equation has been pitching and defense with the occasional timely hit. And they have been true to the method of madness here in Hoover. Fantastic pitching and late offense. Aaron Shuck has done it on offense. Now he's getting ready, we assume, in moments to go back out there and do it on the mound. The third baseman / closer. Georgia with a 3-1 lead, and Arkansas turns it over to number 88, Zebulon Vermillion, sophomore out of Prairie Village, Kansas, Shawnee Mission East, Kansas City suburb. (4-0) on the year with a 2.91. Innings, hits, and strikeouts all just about even. Don't see very many 88s out there in baseball. Albert Bell wore 88 with the Orioles, I believe. (1-0). Stroke to center off the bat of Meadows. Fletcher will glide his way to out number 3. Fletcher will lead off the 9th. He'll be facing Georgia's closer. See if Shuck takes the hill. Let's take a look at Playing with Style, brought to you by Belk. Aaron Shuck with a big hit for Georgia to get things going. Then an accidental double off the bat of Patrick Sullivan for Georgia to play 2 more. And the Bulldogs offense coming up with timely hitting. Thought maybe Shuck would be on the mound to close this thing out, but they're going to stick with Ryan Webb with 3 straight lefties. Fletcher, Kerstad, and Kenley due to the plate. Then the switch hitting opens. Winner of this game gets tomorrow off. We'll move into the semis on Saturday. Loser of this one will turn around and take on LSU tomorrow.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, like I said.
3. Nailed it.
Not even sure what day it is. Fletcher 0 for 2. Brother David in the big leagues with the Angels, playing just about every day. Dominic spent his summer with the U.S. collegiate team, 5 games down in Cuba. Had a great trip to Omaha last year. A couple of home runs and a 346 average. Big swing, though, there. And Webb gets his 3rd straight strikeout.
And that, KP, that's a little bit of the hole you talked about earlier with Dominic Fletcher. Handles righties pretty well, but he's going to have to cut this swing down against lefties to be any kind of effective. Takes some huge hacks off Ryan Webb and swings right through them all.
Back-to-back changeups. You can see the grip. Good look at it right there. And left on left, Webb is comfortable throwing that changeup to both righties and lefties. It was a pitch he struck Casey Martin out on. He gets Fletcher here to start the 9th.
Essen Kerstad down in the count, 0-1. Last year's SEC Freshman of the Year. Set a school freshman record in hits and home runs. One hopper, LJ Talley, 2 down. Georgia's offense has been fashionably late in every game they played here in the SEC tournament, but it's worked out well. One in the 7th to tie it, 2 in the 8th to take the lead. And it looks like they'll save Shuck's arm for next time out. Webb entered with 2 on in the 7th, promptly got a 4-6-3 double play, put the side down in order in the 8th thanks to a great catch from Riley King. He's faced 6 batters. He's recorded 7 outs. In on Kenley. Line drive up the middle. Arkansas still with life. 2-out single.
He can hit. It's a simple swing. Power's come around this year for Kenley. Keeps things going for Arkansas right here. Now the switch hitting Casey Opitz due up. We'll see if Dave Van Horn goes to the bench.
Got 2 hits in his last 2 at bats for Kenley, and that's what I was talking about. That short, quick swing against lefty on lefty matchup is the only way you're going to be able to hit a guy like Ryan Webb. Stay back on the off speed, react to the fastball. Nice job by Kenley there. Base hit up the middle with 2 outs.
They're going to pull Opitz back and go with backup catcher Zach Plunkett. Scott Strickland trying to get his team out of this one and into the semis on Saturday.
Now you're going to see Shunk.
So they'll make the change to Plunkett, and Aaron Shunk will lose a wristband, lose the arm sleeve, and come on to pitch with the tying run at the plate against the guy Plunkett, who's hit 2 home runs this season, including his most recent one April 30th against Grambling State. So it's exactly what we expected. Every game but one in this tournament has been decided by 2 runs or less, and we've had already a record 4 walk-offs. So Georgia with a big advantage with their pitching, and the timely hitting has come late. What do you make of this matchup now with Shunk in the game?
Well, I actually like the way that Georgia used their staff right here. You go left, left, left to start this inning for Arkansas. Webb goes out, gets the first 2. Kenley singles, and now you can go to your closer in this spot. It's really the way that Georgia wins games, the way that they've played today. I mean, pitch, hit enough, defend. They've done all 3 today.
Well, and again, Georgia's staff as a whole today have held one of the best hitting teams in the SEC down to 4 hits for Arkansas. And the other thing we talked about is Georgia's ability to travel with their offense. Six hits so far, 3 runs. It's been pretty big.
By the way, another big one coming up tonight, a top 5 showdown, Vandy and Mississippi State. The winner of that one goes automatically to the semis. Could you handicap either one of those starting pitchers for tonight?
Well, Ethan Small's pitcher of the year in the league. I mean, when you compare him to Fellows got 10 wins, but the ERA is above 4. Ethan Small doesn't have as many wins, but the ERA is below 2, and the strikeout to walk is among the best in the entire country. It's going to be a great matchup as 2 of the best teams in the country again.
All right, Aaron Shunk has moved from third base to the mound. He is ready to go as Georgia's closer. Junior from Atlanta out of Lovett. 1-2 with 11 saves, tied for 3rd in the SEC. And he'll face Zach Plunkett.
How is that as just a weapon to have? I mean, Shunk leads off the 8th with a double down the left field line. Plays 3rd essentially every day for Georgia. Now you need him to come in and get 1 out, send Georgia to Saturday.
That's why we talked about the 5 tools. You know, I don't know, KP, if he even went down to the bullpen at all. I mean,
I didn't see him go down
paying attention. That's pretty impressive. Walk on the mound and zone it in, playing third base the whole game.
I mean, the one thing they've said is in cases like that, where he doesn't have enough time to get down to the bullpen, in between innings is where he'll play catch a little bit different just to make sure that the arm's ready to go. But for a lot of relievers, you get yourself to the point where you're 6 to 8 pitches away from being ready when you come in, or you're already ready when you come in. For Shunk, he's got to do it a little bit unconventionally.
So here's Zach Plunkett, senior from Hearst, Texas, 5th-year senior, originally transferred in from TCU. Cole Tate has taken over for Georgia at 3rd. Shunk delivers a breaking ball waved at. When Shunk missed some time a few weeks ago, it was with a heel injury on his left foot, and it was a real issue when he was landing on that foot. They won't hold the runner, play behind Kenley. He puts a lot of pressure on that left foot on his delivery. 0-2. Every game but one has been decided by 2 runs or less in this year's SEC tournament. And that will continue here. Up the middle and a base hit for Plunkett. A pinch hit single. Kenley on his way to third.
First 2 in the sequence were really good. That 0-2 pitch, though, was the worst of the 3 that Shunk threw. Breaking ball that hung up in the zone. Plunkett singles out to center, and Arkansas's now got a chance. Freshman Nesbitt coming to the plate. First pitch breaking ball that Plunkett's going to swing right over the top of, that was a good one to start. And Shunk has that one. The slider's very good. Then a fastball in the outside corner. May have got a little bit from Tony Walsh, but that breaking ball of the 3 was the one that gave Plunkett the best chance.
Jacob Nesbitt. First pitch fastball up and in. That was close. Winner skips tomorrow. Loser will get Ole Miss in an elimination game at 3 o'clock. It'll be 3 o'clock Central, 4 Eastern. 3-0 now. Shunk behind in the count to Nesbitt. One pitch. Breaking ball to take the count full, and Arkansas down to its last strike.
That's a gutsy pitch right there. 3-1 slider.
Let's see another one right here.
Runner in motion.
Throwing that one.
Payoff to Nesbitt. Got him swinging, and Georgia comes from behind again for nail the win. Bulldogs will move to the tournament semifinals behind the relief pitching of Ryan Webb, who got just his 2nd career win today. Shunk's 12th save wasn't without some worries.
Generally, as a hitter, what you get 3-1 is what you're going to get 3-2. 2 perfectly placed sliders from Aaron Shunk on the outside corner, and that's big time for Georgia.
This is who they are. I mean, it's power starting pitching. What they got today, the freshman Cole Wilcox was very good. Webb comes in, does his job, holds down what is one of the better offenses in the country in Arkansas, and then the closer Shunk comes in, gives up a 2-out single to center. Punch out of the freshman Nesbitt to end it. And Georgia, which I think was very, very safe as far as a top 8 national seed, now you can put it in the books.